Now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Bride of Dracula. The Goddess Next Door and John Haynes team up to take on the Dark Vampire in this action-packed Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Bride of Dracula in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. When it comes down to the whole concept of denouncing white supremacy as proposed by Senator Mitch McConnell, members of the military, and Congress, they are being disingenuous because when they talk about denouncing white supremacy, they talk about it and frame the argument around white men. However, there are several members of America who participate in white supremacy they don't want to talk about and they don't want to denounce. Now, in a previous couple of videos, I talked about this white feminist and how she is a white supremacist. And now I'm going to talk about two other people in the black community who participate in white supremacy and how most people are giving those black people a pass, but they're only looking at these white men. Now, the first person who participates in white supremacy no one is going to denounce is this black feminist. And this black feminist is someone who actively participates in white supremacy because she supports the white feminist. And she supports the white feminist because she wants to be just like this white woman. She says to herself that she is fighting for equality. However, she is actually an enforcer of white supremacy in black communities because according to the black feminist, she is fighting for black women's rights by supporting this white feminist. And when she does that, she is supporting white female supremacy. So when you deal with this black feminist, you are dealing with yet another white supremacist. However, most people will give the black feminist a pass for the same reason they give the white feminist a pass, because they are female and they believe that females are to be elevated to a higher position in society. And many of these beta males and simps believe if they elevate this female to a higher level in society, they will get a chance at having a sexual relationship with that black feminist. And when it comes down to this feminist, that is one of the core reasons why they give her a pass and do not call her on her white supremacy. Because when we look at the behaviors of your black feminist, in most cases, she walks the line right with the white feminist and the white supremacist, promoting the whole concept of white supremacy. However, no one will denounce the black feminist and call her on her white supremacy and her support of white supremacy because, again, they want to get that pass so they can have that covert contract with her. So they'll give her a pass so that they can get a pass. And that's why no one wants to denounce her and her part in supporting white supremacy, because your black feminist is the enforcer of white supremacy in black communities. She is the overseer who oversees the communities by controlling the economy and controlling what goes in and what goes out. And an example of this relates to the Nate Parker movie, Birth of a Nation. Now, it was a whole group of black feminists who went out of their way to denounce Nate Parker and derail his box office for his movie by writing articles and writing blogs and spreading a word of mouth to kill any sort of momentum that film had. And that was white supremacy because they did not like the message of that film. They did not like the narrative of that film. And they decided to go out of their way to destroy that film and destroy Nate Parker's chance to making money because they were angry because Nate Parker was involved with white women. When it comes down to the black feminist, she wants to control the black community and she wants to control the narrative of the black community. And that was a power given to her by white supremacists when they created the welfare state. The black feminist's job is to maintain power over the black economy and maintain control over the black community and maintain a certain standard of living in the black community and maintain control over the communications in the black community. And your black feminist will go out of her way to censor and silence anyone who has a counterpoint that runs counter to the mainstream narrative of the white liberals who control the black feminists. And when it comes down to the black feminists, we can see an example of that with the YouTube hit list that was established a couple of months ago by several African American women who were upset that black men were presenting a counterpoint where they were critical of black women. This also was a form of white supremacy because they wanted to continue maintaining the narrative that black feminists have established in the black community for the last 40 or 50 years, a narrative that is very presents the black man in a negative light that is often parallel to that of what white supremacists present regarding the black male and the black male image. Because if you look at shows like your Oprah Winfrey and many of these talk shows and these Tyler Perry movies and many of these other forms of media, they often present the black man as some sort of brute in the same way that the black man was presented in media almost 100 years ago, where like things like the original Birth of a Nation and other forms of media. If we look at the black media that's produced today, it is often identical in shape and scope. And this narrative is something that is a form of white supremacy, because white supremacy is about control, is about making sure that the black image is presented as inferior and the white image is presented as superior. And part of that is destroying the image of the black man as a leader and an authority figure. And black feminists go out of their way to promote the hatred of black men, like Alice Walker did with The Color Purple, and like many people like Lee Daniels do with films like Precious and Monsters Ball. All of this is part of white supremacy, but all of this is given a pass by many people in America and not denounced as white supremacy. And white supremacy also is practiced by someone else in your black community, and it's been practiced in the black community for several centuries. And this individual is your black pastor. Your black pastor is an integral component of white supremacy, because without your black pastor to practice that pseudo-Christian religion which promotes white supremacy, we would not have control over the black community and a propaganda machine to maintain control over the black community, because your black pastor is a white supremacist as well. And he promotes white supremacy by promoting the ideology and concept of a white Jesus. Now, when we look at the Bible and we look at the Word of God, there was never any connotation to Jesus being white. However, if you go to any church in the black community, all you see are pictures of a white Jesus. And that promotes white supremacy to black people. However, most black people won't see it that way. They will see it as Christianity. Unfortunately, but that's not Christianity. And what most black people never learn about having a relationship with Christ is that God is not a man. And if God is not a man, then he does not have an ethnicity. That's something most black people don't understand, because they are spellbound by the concept of white supremacy. They think God is white, and that's part of white supremacy, where you're sitting there believing that white people have more power than black people, white people have more control than black people, white people have to be submitted to, and that white people are the ultimate authority. That's white supremacy, but that's not white supremacy anyone wants to denounce, because to denounce the black pastor would be like denouncing God. So that's white supremacy no one wants to denounce, because again, God is not a man, and when Jesus walked the earth, he was not white. So that's white supremacy right there. However, these two concepts of white supremacy in the black community get a pass by many blacks because they want to have a covert contract with white people. They believe if they give the white supremacists a pass for white supremacy, they will be allowed certain privileges in American society. And to denounce this white supremacy would mean to denounce their power and their economic position here in America. Because in order to get the power and political power and the economic position here in America, that means people have to submit to white supremacy. And your black feminist and your white and your black pastor, they don't want to give up the economic power they have been given by white supremacists, nor do they want to give up the political and religious power they've been given by white supremacists, because that pseudo-Christian religion that many black pastors preach, that was created to pacify the masses of Negroes since slavery, and the black pastor has always been on the side of the white slave master, being the person who got the extra cornbread and extra biscuit to keep those black masses pacified. And in exchange, in that covert contract, he was given a pass to participate in any irresponsible, reckless, and egregious behaviors he participated in, because he was forgiven by his God. Moreover, your black feminist was also forgiven by her God, because she was given a pass, because as long as she keeps the black community oppressed, she could participate in any of the irresponsible, reckless, and egregious behaviors she wanted to participate in. And when we look at this bigger picture regarding white supremacy, I can honestly say that when these guys say we need to denounce white supremacy, all we saw were a bunch of white knights gathering around the table, gathering around the battlefield to form a protective shield around the people that they wanted to protect. They threw the white men under the bus so that they could protect the core components of white supremacy, like that white feminist, so she could continue teaching the culture of white supremacy to the next generation of boys and girls, and the black feminists so that they could continue to maintain economic and political power over the black community and continue perpetuating white supremacy in black communities, and this black pastor so that he could continue maintaining control over the minds of people in the black community with his religion. And those are components that were integral to white supremacy that no one wants to denounce. And that's what happened when you watch people like your Mitch McConnell and many of these others talking about denouncing white supremacy. They threw the white men under the bus and then formed a shield around the core components of white supremacy, these elements that are going to continue perpetuating this culture in America. Because if you're going to denounce white supremacy in America, you just can't denounce white men. To denounce neo-Nazis, skinheads, Ku Klux Klansmen, that's just the surface of white supremacy. No, white supremacy runs far deeper than that. And if you're going to denounce white supremacy, you have to denounce all of white supremacy. And all of white supremacy entails white feminists, black pastors, and I dare even to say some of these pro-blacks and many others who are codependent on white supremacy to get their needs met in a shuck and jive, blame, and shame game. To omit any of these groups does not deal with the issue constructively, and the only way to deal with the issue of white supremacy constructively is you have to denounce all the components and understand that the whole concept of white supremacy is deeply ingrained in America, deeply ingrained in the culture of America, and it is a part of American history. And if in order to really deal with it, is you have to accept that it is a part of American culture and a part of American life. If you'd like to see me make more videos and possibly get a haircut, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you'd like to try some of my SJS Direct titles, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.